response to my one question survey about the one thing that you need help with your hormones. We are at 100 responses on the survey that I sent out earlier this week. And hey, Facebook people and YouTube people and Instagram people. So thank you so much for the incredible response. I hear you. Ladies are like, yes, I need help with my hormones. Here's what specifically I need help with. And yes, I need this program yesterday is what I hear you saying. I need it yesterday. So I know you're probably wishing that you were in that group of ladies who started at the beginning of the year, because now they're wrapping up and it's amazing, what they've experienced. And so, think about, I'm going to do it. We're going to launch it. But you want to get on the early bird list, because let me tell you, 100 people did my survey and said, I want this program, and we only have space for 20. And so when it is available to enroll next week, you want to be on the early bird list to make sure that you have the best chance of getting in. So I am posting the URL where you can go and get on the early bird list. It should be in the description in Instagram too. So you want to go there and get on there, because if you want to be in the program, you want to be on the early bird list, because if you're not, you're probably not going to get in the program. We sold out the first time we did it. Like I said, we only have allow 20 women, because we like to give individual attention, me and my 2 health coaches. So we're going to cap it again. And we sold out the first time. People were messaging, can I get in? Can I get in? And now I've got 100 people telling me they want it. So if you want it, for sure, get on the early bird list. So it's amazing what the women are experiencing. If you're on my email list, you got an email from me a little bit ago detailing it. But, people at their goal weight, one woman in particular who was at the summit, and then she did the Jumpstart program. And she said, I didn't think it was possible for me to lose weight ever. She said, I had tried everything, and I just thought that I was going to continue to gain weight until I died. She's actually in her 60s. So just for her knowing that it was possible, and then she made it to her goal weight last week. Well, yes, so many of you, like I said, you had the same questions on the survey. And weight loss is the number one issue people are dealing with, which makes sense, because 60% of us by the time we're 50 are overweight or obese. So we have a weight problem. And where there's a weight problem, there's an energy problem. And we talked a little bit about that the past few days on our lives every day at 1 o'clock, but I'll just briefly recap. So when you have excess weight, that's excess fat. That's your second fuel source. Your first fuel source is glucose. And that means that your mitochondria, the little powerhouses in your cells, power plants that take the fat and the glucose and burn it up to make energy, which is ATP, if you remember from high school science. And ATP is like a dollar bill that you make when you go to work. And that makes energy so your body can spend it to do things like clean out your closet or go to work or run a mile or do anything it wants to do. So when you've got a weight problem, it means you're not burning that fat for fuel. You therefore have excess fat, right? Overweight. And when you're not burning it for fuel, you have low energy. So weight and energy, I call it like a bow tie. They're 2 sides of a bow tie tied by the little mitochondria. And that's why they're coupled. So where there's a weight problem, there's an energy problem. But by far the number one response on the survey was, I need help with my weight, Dr. Karen. I can't do anything about it. And that was part of my story too. So this is over 10 years ago. I weighed 243 pounds. I had chronic fatigue. So I was so tired. How many of you can relate? All I did was sleep. And I was sleeping like 10 hours a night. And then I would get up at the last minute, throw on my scrubs, run over to the office in the hospital. You see my patients, do my pap smears, do my hysterectomies, deliver my babies. And then I would come home and I'm the fastest, dresser and undresser in the world. Scrubs off, pajamas on, in the bed, horizontal. That's where I ate my meals. That's where I did everything, and I would soon be asleep. And that was my life, even though I was a wife and a mom. And, I really didn't have a life. It was working or sleeping. How many of you can relate to that? That was another issue on the survey. We'll talk about that another day. So I had that. My hair was falling out. I looked and felt 20 years older than I was. I had depression and anxiety. At one point, I was on 5 psychoactive medications to treat those. I had irritable bowel. So everything I ate, it was chaos in my stomach. Gassy, bloaty, indigestion, reflux. I had gastritis. I had low back problems because of my weight. I mean, I was just a mess. And here I was, a board certified OBGYN, which I still am, supposed to know more about women's health than anyone else. And I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I would say there's got to be something wrong with my thyroid. I would run tests. They'd all come back normal. I'd say there's got to be something. I would just run all the tests. Normal, normal, normal. I'd go to my internal medicine doctor and I'd say something's got to be wrong. And she would come back and she would say, hey, I see eyeballs. Why don't you all give me a shout out and tell me who's here? I'd say something's got to be wrong. And she would run tests and she'd say, no, they're fine. I checked my thyroid at least 10 times and it was normal. And I'm thinking, wow, I just must be crazy is what I started to believe. How many of you have started to believe that? You've done the test at the doctor tells you, oh, your thyroid's fine. Nothing's wrong with your labs. There's no reason you're overweight. No reason you can't sleep. No reason that you want to take a nap at 4:00 in the afternoon every day. How many of you have had that? Almost all the women that I see say, my doctor told me nothing's wrong. And after about the 10th time going to her office, she said to me, Kieran, stop. Just stop. There's nothing wrong with you. And I just went home. I remember driving home in my car and just feeling like in disbelief, like, look at my health. I am clearly not healthy. And all my labs say that I'm normal. What am I missing? And it's so funny because before that time, I had started noticing that we talked about this yesterday in my live. So I'll just recap briefly that a lot of our patients, would come in, one in particular, I remember, heavy, painful, irregular periods, very common female complaint. It shouldn't be, but it is. And we do the usual GYN protocol, which is birth control pills. And when that, Rhonda, when that doesn't work, give them another birth control pill. That doesn't work. What do you get? A laparoscopy. We're going to look inside, put an incision at your navel, do surgery, and look inside. When that doesn't fix anything, what ends up? You have a hysterectomy. Maybe you keep your ovaries for a while, and then eventually you end up having both your ovaries out. How many of you women have experienced this? The list is so long. Hysterectomy is the number 2 surgery in the country, only second to cesarean section. But it doesn't fix the problem. So I had started saying to my colleagues, because I noticed these women who had hysterectomies, sure, their heavy, painful periods went away because they didn't have fibroids, which was a symptom. But they never came in my office and said, oh my gosh, Dr. Kieran, you restored my health. I have great energy now. I sleep great. My weight is perfect. My sex drive's on point. My hair is full. I feel awesome. My gut is healed, right? Never happened. They'd say, oh, I'm so grateful I don't bleed like crazy every month, which is awesome. But it never restored health. So I was saying to my colleagues around that time, are we really helping anyone? I came in this field to help people have wonderful, vibrant health and live their lives on point. And that wasn't happening. And I would say this to my colleagues and they look at me like I was crazy and say, of course we help people. What are you talking about? So I just started again thinking I was crazy. I was crazy when it came to my own health, wanting something more. Mainstream medicine telling me there was nothing wrong with me, although you could clearly look at me and see that I was not optimally healthy. And same thing for my patients. You could clearly look and see, well, she's not on fire with vitality. What are we missing? And then it was, that I discovered, hey, Janet's had that too. I discovered that I had this root cause resolution approach. And so this is what I want to talk to you about today, because I said I'm going to start addressing your questions. We don't have to wait for the course to happen. I'm going to start every day going live. I'm sending an email every day. If you're not on my list and you want to hear what I have to say to answer your questions that you answered, go to my website, KieranDunstonMD.com, and get on my list. Better yet, get on the, I put the link in both places where I'm streaming. It's midlife, metabolisminstitute.com, and then it's / it's right here, early-bird-waiting list, so that you can start in the conversation now and start knowing what's going on. But part of what had to happen for me is that I had to expand my mind about what was possible for me, number one, because if you don't believe that it can happen for you, it's probably not going to. And number two, I had to expand my consciousness and open my mind to what it was going to look like when it came. So we talked so clearly about this yesterday. You might want to go back and watch it in a great deal of detail, that when I was looking for answers to my weight and fatigue and health problems, it needed to come through the channels that I recognized as being the health channels. My doctor, who worked in my town, who I could drive to within 15, 30 minutes, whose office I could drive to and go, where I could pay my $30 copay, and they needed to have the answers, because that's what I've been taught my whole life. Who's been taught here that when you have a health problem, your doctor has the answer? All of us, right? From the time we're little kids. So that's what my mentality was. So I was looking to my doctor for the answer, not really realizing my doctor didn't have the answer, y'all, and neither does yours, unfortunately. Here I was in the medical profession. I went into it to help women on all aspects of their health, not realizing that I wasn't given the proper tools to help women with all aspects of their health. Do you hear me? And so I kept going when I had health problems to myself, right? Board certified OBGYN, to my internist, board certified internist. Something's got to be wrong. How many of you have been at your doctor saying that and they're telling you nothing's wrong, right? This is what we get. Why? Because in mainstream medicine, we are not trained as doctors in how to create vitality and nourish health, and including weight loss and energy and all of the things. We're not taught in that. We are taught in disease management. So if you want your diseases and symptoms managed for the rest of your life and just get by, then you go to the doctor in your town for a $30 copay. They got answers for that. Don't get me wrong. If you're having a heart attack or an acute issue, you want an American trained board certified doctor. You just do, because we're the best at that. But when it comes to everyday living and you want to lose weight and have great energy and have mental clarity and emotional equanimity, they don't have the answers because they weren't trained in that. I wasn't trained in that. And I don't blame them, because that's how I used to practice. But got to get a tissue. But when you want something more for your life, you got to look somewhere else. So I had to open my mind to where the answer was going to come from. And that's something you need to do too, to receive the answers that you're seeking. So in my mind, it had to be my doctor in my town for a $30 copay, where I could drive to their office, park, go to their waiting room, wait there for a long time, 30, 60 minutes, change into a little paper gown with my butt hanging out in the breeze, right? Very enjoyable. Very humiliating, actually, and then wait for the doctor and be seen. And that's what I was taught, where I would find the answers. But that's not where the answers were. I was taught that it would come through this mainstream model, and, my mind had to be expanded as to what was possible and how, in what package it was going to come. And when it came to me, I rejected it. I was like, no. So some of you may have heard me tell this story, how one of my patients who was midlife in her 40s with the same problems I was having, she came back looking like a new woman. I saw her at the end of the hall. Oh my gosh, eyes shining bright, skin bright, hair full. She had lost like 30 pounds, slender, tall, just looking so comfortable in her own skin, which was something I wanted. Don't you want that? And I saw her and I couldn't wait to get her into a room and go like, what are you doing, girl? And so I did that. What are you doing? And she said, well, I learned about this root cause resolution type medicine. I learned about it in this book by Suzanne Summers. And I brought the book for you. I went and saw this doctor and we did all these special tests and salivary hormone testing, stuff I had never heard of. But she was a clear walking billboard for this. So she said, I brought the book for you. She gave it to me. I took it home and, I was married at the time and I said to my husband, I'm not reading this book. It's by Chrissy on Three's Company. Like, what is she going to teach me about women's health? I'm board certified OBGYN. I know everything there is to know about women's health. So arrogant, right? So arrogant and so misguided. And then he said, yeah, and she was a Playboy bunny too. Did you know that? And I said, no, I am not reading that book because she's not going to. So I rejected it. So God placed in my path, here's an answer for you. I didn't want to hear it because it didn't come in a white coat with a stethoscope for a $30 copay in the office in my town. How many of you think that your answers need to come from there? I know most of you do because I hear it all the time. And when people hear what I do and my journey, they're like, oh, are you on my insurance? That's the first question they ask because we're trained to believe that health is on my insurance for a $30 copay that I can drive to your office and sit in a paper gown with my butt hanging out to get my answers. That's where the answers come from. And what I'm going to tell you is the reason why you don't have answers is because you have a paradigm in your mind of how the answer is going to come and what it's going to look like. And until you open your mind to the answers that are staring in front of you, you will never find an answer. You're not going to find an answer because those people don't have the answers, because I didn't have the answer to my own health problems because we're not trained in that. So I said I wasn't going to read the book. Eventually I did, just so I could be polite. And I was like, let me pick it up and look at it so I can give it back to her and say, thank you very much, and just be polite, right? But when I started reading it, it made sense. And I started reading it like the Da Vinci Code. It wasn't anything about Suzanne. It was about her and using her celebrity as a vehicle to interview these doctors and scientists in this field I never heard of. And we all have a truth meter, right? When your girlfriend brings that guy home, in 5 minutes, you're like, he's no good. I know it. Right? We all have that. So I have it too, because I learned about how the body works, all the biochemistry and physiology in med school. And then I was promptly told as a resident, never mind about all that, follow the protocols. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. And so I was indoctrinated into this is how we do it. And I wanted to be a good doctor and a good resident. So that's what I did. And I really stopped thinking about what I was doing. So in her book, she harkened back to all that beautiful biochemistry and physiology of how the body works. And I was like, oh my gosh, truth meter went off. This makes perfect sense. Why don't we check women's hormones? I'm OBGYN. We're supposed to be the women hormone experts. And yet, not in anywhere of my 8 years of training did anyone ever tell me check a hormone level. Not anywhere in my training did anyone ever talk about salivary cortisol testing. It never happened. So I'm like, ooh, this makes sense to me. I'm going to learn everything I can about this, and I'm going to use it on myself. And if it works, I'm going to tell every woman everywhere about this, because I wasn't the only one suffering, right? I had a whole office full of 40 and 50 and 60-year-old women with all the same problems I was having that I wasn't given tools to fix in med school or residency. So I used it to heal myself. And then that's what I'm doing now. I'm telling everyone. But if I didn't open my mind to the possibility, I just thank God that I had at least a modicum of humility at the time to open a book by a Playboy bunny about hormones and read a little bit of it so I could get hooked and see that it was the truth, what she was saying. And you have got to overcome that too. Because if you have what I call contempt prior to investigation, meaning you're not willing to look elsewhere, and you have in your head, my answer is going to come at my doctor's office in my town on my insurance for a $30 copay, damn it. And that's how you are convinced it's going to come. You will never find the answers you are seeking to your weight problems at midlife, your energy problems, your brain fog, your emotional non-equanimity, to any of it. So yeah, I see Rebecca's yes, right? So she's feeling me. Are you feeling what I'm saying, Rhonda? Yes. Yes, Rhonda, you were my doctor here in Savannah until you left. Now I go through the clinic and no one talks to me about anything. Right. Nobody talks to you. That's what doctors do. I mean, I even broke my toe about 6 weeks ago, and I had to go get an x-ray because I actually wasn't sure if I broke my foot or my toe, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't my foot. I mean, I knew if it's the toe, you just tape it to the body and you wait. But if it's the foot, it's a different story. So I went, and I'm just amazed at being a consumer. This is a little side conversation, and maybe you can relate. I'm amazed at being a consumer in healthcare. So they made it clear that it was a Sunday, they had a PA on duty at the ortho clinic, has an urgent care on a Sunday. So I went there. So they made it clear I had to wait 2 hours to be seen. Why is that even a thing in 2021? And then the PA comes in. She doesn't even look in my eyes. She doesn't introduce herself to me. She's looking at my chart. She sits down on the stool and then just tells me, take your sock off. I think I had put a sock on my foot. Take your sock off so I can see your foot. Like, well, that's just inhuman, but that's a whole sidebar. So anyway, I hear you, Rhonda. So yes, Rebecca says that the doctor suggested I have a hysterectomy and 40, and I decided I would rather suffer. So this is the thing, Rebecca, you shouldn't have to suffer, because if we were treating women the right way and checking their hormone levels and adjusting why their hormones are off, the poor uterus is just the symptom causing the bleeding. It's not the cause of the problem. The problem is hormone imbalance. So I know that so many hysterectomies could be avoided. And Rhonda says, you're describing my life. Me. Yes. This is women. This is women in America 2021, and it's wrong. So all this to say, thank you guys for filling out the one question survey on the one thing you want to know about your hormones. If you didn't fill it out, you can do it now, because I am collecting all your issues about what you need help with when it comes to your hormones, so that I can make programs that meet your specific needs. And then also, if you would be interested in, I heard so many people yesterday out of 100, like, we want this program in March. Actually, they said we want it yesterday. You can go to, I've got it up in both places. So it's midlifemetabolisminstitute.com/early-bird-waiting-list. So get on the list. You will be one of the first to be notified. You want to be on the early bird list, and here's why. So when we launched this course in January for the first time, we sold out. We can only have 20 women in the program. We sold out. I had people emailing and messaging me on social media. Can't I get into this program? I need this program. And I'm like, I'm sorry. So this time, again, we will sell out. I had 100 people basically fill out the survey this week, and the majority of them said, yes, we want this program. So if you want to make sure that you are one of the first, get on the early bird list. People on the early bird list are going to get the chance to enroll a day before everybody else. So you want to be on that list. All right. So, but you got to get, hey, Jerry in Texas, you got to get out of your mind about what you think it's going to look like, because mainstream medicine is not about the creation of health. It's about the management of disease. And so I thank God that and I had been pretty hard-headed. When you're a doctor, I've heard it said that MD stands for minor deity. You think that you know everything. And so here I was MD and board certified of women's health, OBGYN. So I thought I knew everything about women's health. So I had contempt prior to investigation. I wasn't willing to look at a book by Playboy Bunny to see what answer she might have for me and to open my mind, even though I had this internal discomfort and knowing that we were missing something. And I was saying it to my colleagues, we are missing something. But I didn't know what it was. And here, God laid this book in my path. This is what it is. So like I was telling my ladies who are finishing up the Hormone Balance Mastermind next week, I was on live with them on Tuesday, and we were talking about just getting out of your head about what things are supposed to look like, and opening your mind, and how I had to be cracked open. And I was actually cracked open a few years before, because this information had come across my path before, but I had poo-pooed it. I had made fun of it. I said, that's a bunch of nonsense. It's not true. It doesn't work, because I hadn't had much humility, and I had events happen, which I talked with them about on Tuesday, that really opened me to have humility and be open to other possibilities. So with humility comes the openness to receive new information, new support. Hey, Lucinda, how are you? And when I had that humility, then I could actually be open to learn something that could help me. And so really, I find that that's true for other people, and that the people who reject how this is going to come, and they're like, no, it's going to come through my doctor in my town with a $30 copay on my insurance. Good luck with that, right? You're just going to stay stuck. And so if you want to get unstuck and you want 2021 to be the year of you, it starts with hormone balancing. I'm going to tell you why in a second. And I'll relate it to your number one question, which was weight. It starts with hormone balancing, and it comes in a package different. It comes over the internet with Zoom and Facebook communities with a group of women just like you going through the same thing, with a doctor who can coach you through the steps you need to take. It comes with doing your Dutch hormone test that includes a salivary cortisol profile, and doing the right thyroid test and having them read the right way. It comes with all of that. So now, what did I say I was going to talk about? I got on another tangent, and now I don't remember. Tell me what I was going to communication and hormones. So it starts with hormones. Why does weight loss start with hormones? So I'm going to explain this to you in a basic way as possible. In any system, what is the most important part of that system? Communication, right? In a classroom, when there's a substitute teacher who doesn't have the lesson plan, what happens? All the kids are throwing spitballs and running around playing tag and joking and laughing, and nobody's paying attention to the teacher, right? Why? Because there's poor communication. The kids don't know what's expected of them, so they do whatever they want. The substitute teacher didn't get a lesson plan, so she doesn't give one. So it's chaos. Any system without communication is chaos. When there's a hurricane in an area, right, there's destruction. Usually it's in low-lying areas that may be barrier islands that have poor traffic flow in and out. And so bridges get washed out, so there's no traffic flow, and phone lines get down, so there's no phone communication, and electricity lines get down, so people can't charge their cell phones. So there is poor communication. What's the first thing that has to get restored in a hurricane disaster area? Communication. For proper function of the area to be restored, you've got to have communication. Roads have to be cleared and open. Phone lines and electricity lines have to be open, right? So That's the same in your body. If your body is not functioning optimally and you have horrible fatigue, if you are overweight, if your brain is not functioning properly, you have brain fog and mood problems, your gut is out acting crazy, whatever it is, there is poor communications because all your cells want to heal naturally, but they can't when they don't get the proper communication. So you have to restore communication. What's the communicators in your body? Your central nervous system, 2 branches, hardwired nerves that come from your brain and go all over your body, and wireless that comes from your brain that tells your hormones how to function. I don't know about you, but in my house, when I plug my computer into the wall, hardwired connection, pretty sturdy, right? Doesn't go out. But when I get on the wireless internet every other day, I have a freaking problem with my wireless internet, right? Cannot connect, bars spinning. I have to reset my router. I have to call Xfinity. What's going on with the wireless? Is it like that in your house too? Same in your brain. Hardwired, pretty hardy and sturdy. Hormones is like your wireless internet, always going out and having a problem. This is why hormone problems are so rampant in humans, particularly women. Anything that has moving parts is more likely to fall apart, right? And we cycle daily with our diurnal variation with the sun and moon. We cycle every 28 days with the moon, right? So women, we're always like this. Do you think that our communication is easily disrupted to ourselves? Hell yes. So you have to restore proper communication so your cells know what to do. So your fat cells, when it comes to your weight, get the signal, hey, take that fat out and put it through the mitochondria and burn it for fuel and make ATP so we can make some energy, so we can do all the things we want to do, right? This is why communication and hormone balance is the essential first step in losing weight and regaining energy. And this is what we are going to tackle in the Hormone Balance Mastermind. But I wanted to answer this for you because this was your number one question on my one question, one thing hormone survey. And I am so grateful that you took time out of your precious day to answer and share your thoughts with me. I cannot thank you enough. I really appreciate it. My mission is to help 1 million women in the next 3 years. I can't do it if I don't know exactly what you're needing to address the problems you're having and to get where you want to be. So I am so grateful that you took the time to answer that question. Do not forget to get on the early bird waiting list for the program if you are suffering with weight, energy, brain fog problems, and you want to be in the Hormone Balance Mastermind, because you are going to get notified a day before everybody else if you're on that list. And if you're not, then you're not going to get on there. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I love seeing all your hearts and your thumbs up and your eyeballs and everything. Y'all are beautiful. And, you know, this motto came to me recently that really exemplifies how I feel about the work that I do. And it's no woman left behind. No woman left behind. Not one of you do I want left behind. I am taking you all with me to the city of vitality and brilliant health. So I hope you'll join me. I will talk to you tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and I'm going to answer your number 2 question from the survey. Talk to y'all then. Mwah, many blessings.